Chasing trail, kicking up dirt, sweating my eyes, but it don't hurt. Fast feet, loose rocks, send it full sail. Ain't no stopping, we chasing trail. Yeehaw!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chasing Trail. I am your host, Teddy Tonelli, aka Teddy the Tyrant, and today we have a guest that resembles a hobbit in a way in the hair department, but he's slightly taller than the average hobbit and much more informed about the outdoors and far less lazy. Today, we got Max on the podcast, and it's not the Max that you're thinking of. It is not the one who keeps dodging Teddy and not coming on this podcast because he's scared of what's going to happen to him in September. No, this guy, he's the owner of Dirtbag Rigs. All right. And he's not a runner. All right. You guys is going to be wondering, who the hell is this guy? I'm going to tell you, it's somebody that you need to know. All right. Without further ado, Max Mogren. Is it Mogren? Am I pronouncing that right?
It is Mogren. Yes, sir. You got it absolutely right. Thanks for having me on. This is the first podcast invite I've had in years. So I really appreciate you stepping up.
Yeah, Teddy is a man of the people. And to me, it seems like you are also a man of the people. So it only made sense to have you here and, and share the things that you've been doing, specifically with, you came out, reason that you came into Teddy's orbit. All right, let me give a little backstory for this, is that for the people know. Is Michelino, even though he's been dodging the podcast too, we still love Michelino, okay? Part of us thinks that he should be in federal prison for dodging the podcast, but not for the trail issues. But anyway, we came into your orbit because you posted something, and you're a big time over there in the Tetons area, and you got notice of this whole thing, and you was real upset about it. But I also saw some other things that you was big mad about, and I wanted to hear those things too. So since this is the first podcast you've been on in a while, why don't you give the peoples a little bit of your backstory and kind of what you do?
Well, it's great to be on a running podcast. I used to run quite a bit. Not that that matters now,
It doesn't look like it, to be honest, but that's okay.
Well, right now I'm like 5'10", 230 pounds, so I don't have the runner's build anymore. But, I grew up racing, cross-country ski racing and running, segued that into mountaineering and backcountry skiing. And it kind of just got burned out on the competitive endurance sports world, so segued more into outdoor adventure. But yeah, I got when I saw what they were doing to your brother, to Michelino, I couldn't let that
I need to stop you really quick there. People mistake that all the time. He's actually not my brother. I'm not related to him. Yeah, Michelino is not related to me. He's related to Francesco. Different. I get it. It happens all the time. Sorry, Max. I didn't mean to interrupt you. If that threw you off your train of thoughts, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's all good. I mean, that's all I really had to say. Me, I just love the outdoors. I consider myself a bit of an environmentalist, but I question the whole climate change agenda and how the goal is to raise taxes and decrease personal freedoms in the interest of saving the planet from one of the least toxic pollutants humans put out, CO2. And so,
yeah.
I guess, locally, a lot of people see me as the local crank conspiracy theorist, but I think I'm more of a factualist. I don't do too much speculating, just kind of, connecting the dots, looking for patterns and staying up to date with what's going on in this crazy world. It's pretty hard not to notice conspiracies when you're informed.
And that is a good point. Well, see, and you actually have was a Substack, I believe it's called, and it's funny because it's called I believe it's Mog Farts, and I was wondering, I was like, why didn't he call it Mog Queefs? Is it because you're sexist or because you just like farts better?
Well, sometimes when it suits my purposes, I identify as female, but farts are more inclusive and equitable than queefs. So I didn't want to, a lot of the population, about half the population cannot physically queef. Therefore, it's more inclusive and diverse.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that. That's absolutely freaking genius. Okay. Wow. See. These are the things that Teddy doesn't think about, and I need like the help within the explanation. So no, that's great. But a good question is, and this is totally off topic. We'll get back on topic here. But what food do you think makes the smelliest farts? Like,
Probably like if you took like tuna salad and mixed it with egg salad, and then washed it down with like a kombucha. I'd say that would do the
oh,
trick.
oh my God, you'd clear out a room. You
Yeah.
might kill children with that. That's terrible. Mm-mm. Okay, no, that's a good point. Okay, so Nicolino's trial is May 20th. Okay, so we're trying to air this episode the same day. We're trying to get this out. This is an emergency pod. This is all hands on deck type of things going on here. So, are you going to be going to the trial? I believe you said you was.
I try to avoid courthouses, especially federal ones, but I will be there. I don't want to go, but I feel obligated to go and, report on it, just be a presence there. Not that, me personally by myself has any sway over the court or anything, but I think if we get a lot of people out there, if a bunch of people show up, if it's standing room only in there, the federales are going to see where the public stands on this totally unjust, basically insane lawfare, if you will, against not your brother Michelino, for the horrible victimless crime of cutting one switchback. That's literally all he's being charged for. It's absurd.
It's freaking crazy. It's absolutely absurd. I don't understand it. But the thing is the one thing that I do want you to do here is, because I've heard your opinions on why Nicolino, why this is a witch hunt. Okay. Yeah. But I need you to steel man for me why he belongs in federal prison for the rest of his life. Because I feel like there are some people out there in the Teton Valley that are calling for it. I saw commenters that said, they said he should be CEO'd. Okay, they was referring to the pharmacy CEO guys talk about conspiracies. We could get back to that later. We could do a whole podcast on it. Teddy's actually wanted to be a conspiracy theorist, and I don't know if I have what it takes. Maybe you could help me with it. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, like, steelman it for me. Why should we lock up Michelino forever? Why should we throw away the key?
Well, I mean, I hear he's trampled on approximately 3, maybe even 4 blades of grass during his unsanctioned jaunt down the historic Climbers Trail that people have been using for decades, even though, there's a couple little signs there. But me personally, running up and down the Grand, headed up into the Tetons to climb all sorts of stuff, I've used that trail countless times. I've seen Exum guides and park rangers and Jenny Lake climbing rangers and all sorts of, environmentally conscious local athletes and tourists, everybody, people from all walks of life using that trail. I didn't know it until I started looking into this, but the women's FKT on the Grand Teton, I think it's Jen Day. What's her name? I got some notes here. Jen Day Dayton said it in 2022. She used that trail. She used the old historic Climbers Trail, but, they didn't throw the book at her. So anyway, I can't really, you're asking me a question here that I can't really give you a good answer to, because it's a victimless crime.
I think I got what I was looking for. So what I'm hearing is like, because the female FKT lady did it, I said, like, I agree with you. I'd say we lock them all up is really what it is we throw everybody in prison. Yeah. Because here's the thing, Max, is that, and I'm obviously being facetious here, but here's the thing. Why don't we just throw everybody in prison? Let's get it over with. We get everybody in prison here. If you cut a trail, you go to prison. If you don't pay your fine, which we'll talk about here in a second, you go to prison. I feel like it's a simple solution. Why are we wasting our time with courts?
Straight to jail. We got to get, maybe the Park Service needs a bit more authoritarian uniforms. I think they could take a little historical lesson from maybe the Nazi regime and put some more intimidating imagery on their sleeves and whatnot. And that could help. But yeah, lock everybody up. Well, and especially with Michelino's case, reading the whole law that he's being prosecuted under, it's like $5,000 fine, 6 months in jail. Is that really enough? And, as it's written, it seems like that is, the maximum penalty should be reserved for folks who have committed exceptionally egregious offenses.
Hmm.
Like if you went into, if you were like stealing artifacts from a native site in the, down in the Southwest, like all the ancient Anasazi ruins and stuff. I could see if somebody was like stealing pottery out of the old adobe structures and then selling it on eBay.
That
That
makes sense.
that seems like a severe offense. Whereas
Yeah.
Michelino's offense, cutting a switchback, well, I think we need a stronger law with harsher penalties to deal with that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been saying, I always see these signs. It says $1,000 fine for littering. I never see anybody get these fines. I say what we do is we just have people line. You have like an automated system. You see somebody litter, and it's like the machine guns in the movies. And it comes out, bang, done. Look, I'm just saying there's easier ways to handle this. Our government does not seem to be able to handle money well. We automate everything. We got the AI. I just say we turn it over to it. We let the robots handle the rest because we've created this problem for ourselves. Again, I'm joking. But here's the thing: is that you kind of are sort of like an activist in your own way, but not really. But kind of like you're reporting on the things and they're important, and you have an interesting spin on it. The way that you explain things. You was talking about recently the pay to park things. There's the government's charging us for parking now but they make you use your phones. And you was telling me about this, and I was saying it doesn't make sense. Teddy just wants to go outside. I want to go see birds. I want to go see the animals and the water. And here I am. I have to worry about getting my phone out, and I'm not good with technology.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hot button issue here locally because, I'm kind of late to the party on this. I guess this has been going on since about 2018, and I've only been looking into it for the last couple of days. My primary research source is DeepSeek.ai, the Chinese AI. So take it with a grain of salt. But basically, the whole recreation.gov, rec.gov system, which encompasses the Park Service, the Forest Service, BLM, U.S. Fish and Wildlife. It's like 14 different agencies fall under the recreation.gov system, which is built and maintained and heavily profited off of by Booz Allen Hamilton, which that's who Edward Snowden works for. They're a military and intelligence and cybersecurity consultant and contractor with links to the CIA, the NSA, and now apparently the National Park Service and the Forest Service. When the system they're implementing is basically cashless, you got to pay on your phone, you got to download their app, which is going to track you. You got to agree to their terms of service. You got to link your bank account to it, and it's absurd. These guys are getting paid. The more I look into it, this can of worms, the rabbit hole, so to speak, just gets deeper, and the can of worms just gets more rotten. Booz Allen Hamilton's getting $32 million a year as just their fee for running a website, and then on top of that, they get like somewhere between all the financials and all the figures are funny, they're hidden away, but it sounds like, according to Chinese AI, they're getting approximately 10 to 20% of every fee. So if you book a campsite that's $20 a night, you're paying Booz Allen Hamilton $2 to $4 for processing your transaction via their app to go out into the woods.
That's insane. See, the thing is, okay, Teddy's namesake, did you know? You probably didn't know this, but Teddy's namesake is Teddy Roosevelt. Okay. That's who I was named after.
It's beautiful.
And he started the Park Service. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if he see what was going on right now, he would probably try to declare revolution. He would be real upset about this. I don't think Teddy would stand for it. I know that this Teddy doesn't stand for it at all.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, do you think that Michelino could potentially be part of this thing, be part of CIA, part of Mossad, maybe?
I haven't considered that, but now that you bring it up, no, absolutely not.
Have you seen?
Sorry,
I'm
dude.
just saying.
He's just
I'm just saying. Have you seen Michelino?
Badass trail runner who cut one switchback and got robbed of the FKT because the world is friggin' insane.
Yeah, there is that, but there's also the thing that the people that are in Mossad are like world class athletes too because they do a lot of training. So I'm just saying, like the parallels is like it's something to look out for. The thing is you can't close the door on these things until we know. But look, we know that the trial is tomorrow. We're gonna find out if this is a kangaroo court or not. All right. And like the thing is, if it is, I might have to go kangaroo jack on them and get up there and start like freaking drop kicking people because Teddy's got powerful legs like a kangaroo, and I will freaking like right in the freaking face if I'm not even kidding. And look, if Teddy goes to federal prison because of it, Teddy goes to federal prison because of it. We're kangaroo kicking motherfuckers.
You got the legs for it. I'd say go for it.
That's what I'm saying. I think I do have the legs for it. Thank you. God,
well, you do
nice
got.
guy.
I think
hey,
you got to work on your conspiracy doc connecting a little bit. I can help you with that. I can help you.
Well, I think you can, because one thing I do have here, I want to ask you a question because I buy the America the Beautiful pass every single year. Because I tell myself, hey, Teddy could pitch in $80. I could throw $80 for the animals. Teddy loves animals, which actually, really quick, let's take a pause. What's your favorite animal?
Probably my dog, Denali. She's like a black German Shepherd and great dog, fun to ski with.
Yeah.
She'll ride on the dirt bike with me, sitting on my lap. She's great dog. What's your favorite animal, Teddy?
Yeah, well, I love dogs. You know what's funny is that people, I've done this show for a few times now. I ask people what their favorite animal is all the time. Nobody has asked me what my favorite animal is.
Oh, what is it?
Well, I'm just pickled pink at the fact that you was curious. Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Okay, Teddy loves wolves. I love wolves. I think they're really cool creatures. They work together, and then like they solve their problems together. But like, if one of them is sick, they'll try to help it a little bit, but then if it's too far gone, they just kill it. And I think that's efficient. And Teddy operates on efficiency, but they're also caring. Have you seen them with their baby dogs?
Yeah.
It's adorable. I love wolves.
Fair enough. Well, I think tomorrow we got to send in the wolf pack to protect Michelino from the broken bureaucracy.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that it's absolutely insane. And the thing is that what people's failing to realize about these things is that this crosses the party lines. Okay. We've seen how many these president guys come through. Teddy doesn't vote. I don't believe in it. They all crooked. So what I say is look at all of them, and we have these same problems. And people need to realize we could, as a people, come up and we could say something. We could stand up for the rights of ourselves because they are not doing it for us. And I think that's what you're doing, Max. That's what you're doing. You're standing up. You're coming on the show, and you're telling the people, and I admire it. But really quick about the parking thing. I actually need to get is it going to affect my pass? Do I need to pay for that pass anymore? Should I stop paying them altogether? Tell me.
That's a great question. I try to avoid paying. Like, for example, when you go climbing in Grand Teton National Park, historically, if you show up there in the, at 4 a.m. to get your ascent going, there's nobody in the guard station to check your pass. So you just roll right on through. But now under this new like digital payment kiosk system, they're going to have a friggin' robot standing there ready to scan your pass, potentially scan your friggin' eyeball to get into the park. You know what I mean? And it's like,
I just feel like it's crazy. It's overreach.
It is overreach. I mean, it's really unconstitutional. The federal government is just supposed to follow the Constitution in this country. We already have, we got the federal government, we got state government, we got county government, we got town or municipal government, you got the HOA, you got the school board. We got plenty of government, and the federal government really doesn't need to get any bigger, spend any more of our money, spy on us anymore, or create more barriers for human freedom here in the so-called land of the free.
the thing is that I apologize, Max. I'm stuck on the overreach part because I just have this freaking gross image of some like government robot reaching in my pants and just grabbing my freaking wiener. Like that's how it makes me feel. That's how uncomfortable it makes me feel. And I don't like cold hands on my wiener. So I need the government to stay out of this thing. And here's why is it that this is no longer, I can't just put my money in a box. I can't just put my money in a box and I just go and I go look at the birds.
Right. Or why isn't it free? We already pay, whatever,
we already pay
30% of our income in federal taxes. You buy an annual pass to the park, the America the Beautiful pass seems pretty reasonable. But why is it, and what concerns me is like the overall trend. It's like, oh, they're just, for example, locally, they're just going to start charging in the Snake River Canyon to go surf the lunch counter or to go raft down the river. But you got the government, which is $38 trillion in debt, linked up with a private cybersecurity, intelligence, payment processing corporation. I mean, this is fascism. You've got the merger of state and corporate power. Your grandpa
I've been
Benito,
saying this.
Your grandpa Benito came up with that definition.
Yes. Yeah. The fascistas.
Yeah, the fascistas.
Look,
so you got this.
We are not part. Yes, I'm aware. Checkered history. Teddy doesn't subscribe to this anymore, but I'm aware, and I agree.
Yeah, it seemed like a good idea at the time, but anytime, government's goal is to like consolidate power, corporations' goal is to consolidate profit. And when you got the government and the corporations working together, it tends to work out poorly in the long run for, the people like you and me.
Me and you. Yeah. Here's the thing, and I noticed this, so that everybody's talking about the eggs, all right? But I'm a big fan of Parmesan cheese, all right? And here's the thing, is that, look, I'm an American first, but I get my Parmesan from the, from the motherland. That's what happens, where I get my Parmesan. And look, Teddy's happy to pay the tariffs because I understand that I'm here to help out, but I don't like the fact that I have to pay more for cheese. I don't like the fact that I have to pay more for cheese. And the thing is that's not really to your point. However, I am very upset about the cheese prices here. Now, really quickly, I do want to get into a few things here about you. And the thing is, so you look like a guy that like is really into making beef jerky. I could be wrong there. I'm just wondering, you do a lot. Are you doing Mog beef soon?
Mog beef?
Mog beef. It sounds like powerful, and it sounds like it kind of makes me a little horny, if I'm being honest. Mog beef. You feel it?
I feel it.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Speaking of local issues, I was just talking to a very reliable source the other day. There's, speaking of beef, there's a nice cattle operation up there in Jackson Hole, Lockhart Cattle. And it's crazy because these guys, it's however many generations, they're running cattle on this land right next to the high school, right? And speaking of government overreach, it sounds like the government
freaking robot grabbing wieners, man.
Yeah, they're trying to grab their wieners and a big part of their pasture to put a road right through the middle of their cattle operation, and they're trying to steal the land through eminent domain. They're trying to condemn it based on concerns about public safety because they're worried they're not going to have enough roads when they put in another, whatever it is, 1,200 new houses because their neighbors sold out, and that's all going to get developed. So just,
I don't want the cows to have to be displaced, so I'm rooting for them that they stay there, because the thing is that like the cows, they just want to have more grass. They don't need more cars driving by. That's one of my big problems that I have with the National Park Service, if I'm being quite honest with you, Max, is that it seems that a lot of the times any funding that goes to a national park is going towards building a parking lot or another road going into that national park. Right. How much of that is going towards the conservation? How much of it is it going to studying the species? I've told you this before. Teddy loves animals, and we have a problem with the native species in our national parks not being able to live their proper lives because everything surrounding them is houses and peoples, and there's no corridors for the animals to go. Yet all we worry about is building more roads, and that we call that access. And quite frankly, Max, I call that bullshit.
Yeah. Well, and it's so ironic, there's just such an enigma dealing with the government. Now that we got the Trump administration, they're not on board with the climate change thing. But it's like the government is trying to boost the economy and develop and, raise taxes and increase, GDP up every year. Yet at the same time, they're trying to shut down the global economy by limiting CO2 emissions. So it's such a weird,
Yeah.
it's an enigma. It's like this whole civilization we live under is crazy.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy. I was explaining this to somebody, and this may be, some people are going to be listening to this. There's a lot of runners that listen to this.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, lots of them is kind of crazy about these sorts of things. And they don't understand that all of these climate things that are put in place are simply ways to collect more tax revenue. A perfect example is a gentleman that was on this podcast previously, Francesco, works in an industry where they collect dust. And California is known as a state that is very clean. However, did you know that companies can just pay away their fines and continue to emit dust into the environment, harming their workers, as long as they pay the fine? Now, to me, that sounds like a dust credit, does it not? Kind of like a carbon credit. Now, I would like people to kind of put those things together and realize that you're just being bamboozled. And the thing is that this is a comedy podcast, right? But some things aren't funny,
Right.
and people tend to be blind to what's right in front of them, Max.
Well, yeah, and I used to, when I was a kid growing up in Minnesota, we were all kind of indoctrinated with the global warming thing, starting in, third, fourth, fifth grade. So by the time I was out of college and moved out here, I had like lapped up the climate change agenda, hook, line, and sinker, to the point where I was like an activist on that. So I get it that people are, it's great to be concerned about the environment, but it's like,
we all should be. Yes, absolutely.
it's like the water is not safe to drink most places. The food is full of toxic chemicals. The government is going around the whole world blowing shit up and then rebuilding it. It's like, as far as environmental issues go, I'm more concerned, and you should probably be more concerned about the fact that the air is not fit to breathe, the water is not fit to drink, the food is not fit to eat, and
correct.
Species are going extinct, and it's not because the temperature is 0.2 degrees warmer than it was a decade ago.
What I always say is with the government is like this. It goes, hey, look over here, yeah. And right here they're fucking you in the ass.
Right.
Okay, so that's the thing that I don't understand, is that when we have so many things that we can do, such as stopping corporations from polluting and dumping into rivers, or dealing with our landfill problems, things like this, things that we have control over, our wasteful nature as a culture, as a whole. We are extremely wasteful. These are things that we can change, yet we are bamboozled into thinking that if you drive an electric car, you're saving the planet. Now, let me remind you where your electricity comes from.
On that same thing, the look over here recently, when Trump got in there and Musk started Doge, the look over here right away was, we're going to cut funding and cut jobs at the Park Service, the Forest Service, etc. The dick in the ass is the new cashless surveillance payment system to access your public lands.
Yeah, but it's convenient though, isn't it, Max? It's convenient. You can do everything with your phone, so it's just fine.
Well, it's convenient if you have a phone. But here, I got some figures your audience might like to hear. I did all the research going in here. So you need, right, in order to use this cashless surveillance payment system, you got to speak English, right? It's only in English right now. 25.8 million Americans do not speak English well enough to have a conversation. So they can't
That
go
is
into public
absolutely
land.
insane.
Okay, you got to be literate, right? In order to, you can't just go stick your $5 into the slot there at the trailhead. 1.1 million Americans are completely illiterate. And 54% of American adults read below the 6th grade level. 25.1 million Americans do not speak English. 1.1 million Americans are completely illiterate. 15% of American adults do not have a smartphone. So how are they going to pay these fees to Booz Allen Hamilton in order to access their public lands? And for senior citizens, that's 39% of senior citizens, people over 65, don't have a smartphone. Or if they do, they probably don't know how to use it. So right there, you got almost half of people over 65 do not have a smartphone. And they cannot legally access any fee areas in the public lands. You need a bank account to use their cashless system too. According to the FDIC, 6.5% of U.S. households are unbanked. They don't have a bank account. And with the Black and Hispanic population, that number is a lot higher. 11.3% of Black households don't use the bank. Why? Because they don't trust the bank. 34%.
Teddy doesn't trust the bank either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 23% of U.S. adults don't even have a credit card. So, the system, these new cashless, go up to the kiosk and basically sign your life away to an NSA and CIA linked private corporation that does military intelligence and surveillance and cybersecurity and reservations for your public lands. The whole system's really shady, and it really truly does cut, a large percentage of the American population out from being able to legally go rent a campsite or,
well, that's kind of my thing is how I would relate that to the running community, which I do find this very interesting. It is a subject that Teddy finds very interesting. Is that they always are really pushing for the inclusivity of trails, which I agree with. I think that's great. Now, again, I think many of these companies do that to boost sales amongst a certain demographic. And you know what? Hey, all companies do it. I understand. If we can get more people out on the trail and outside, that's great. Whatever we could do. But here's the thing is that it seems like what they're doing is they're really limiting it to those exact demographics that we're trying to reach here. You mentioned, Black and Hispanic communities specifically. Now, again, if we're talking about, them and then all these other countless people that, whatever the reason may be, that's a large amount of people that are not allowed to go outside. Quite literally makes it illegal for you to go outside and go enjoy the outdoors if it's in a certain area. Now, I thought that America, we were supposed to be free.
And Yosemite now, I think, I haven't been out there. I've just been reading the news, but it sounds like they're going to cashless only. So you basically need, you need to use a smartphone and a credit card to go into Yosemite National Park. And my concern is, you look at the trend. If the government is $38 trillion in debt and they're in this unholy techno-fascist alliance with a massive corporation, well, what is the incentive? The incentive is to make, like we're seeing here with the Snake River, to jack up the fees, to jack up the number of fee areas. And basically at every trailhead, every backcountry parking lot, every pullout, they put up a sign that says, you got to scan this QR code in order to access this trail, and it's going to cost you X number of dollars. And by the way, Booz Allen Hamilton is going to get 10 to 20% of your reservation fee. It's not even going to the government. It's going straight to some private corporation that just lobbied their way into the cushiest deal imaginable, where they got a government contract to run a website where they're getting $32 million a year, plus, according to Chinese AI, an estimated 40 to 80 million a year in transaction fees.
Well, you're not even to imagine the data.
Yeah.
that they gather on you.
Right.
You have all that information, then they go and they sell that to somebody else.
Well, and think about it
Then
too. It's like, okay, so if this whole smartphone system isn't in place, well, then what if you don't pay, but your smartphone, just like Michelino's in trouble because of his Strava track, right? if you if
right,
you go
yeah,
if you go hike a trail where you're supposed to pay at the trailhead and you don't pay, well, is a drone gonna come swoop down over you? Probably not. But are they gonna
yeah, drop a freaking grenade on him.
or
Boom,
yeah,
dead.
but who knows? Well, okay, you didn't pay the $5 trailhead fee, so now we're gonna ding you with the
Grenade.
$500 fine for not complying. You know, and that's not
Yeah,
happening
well,
now. But look at the
how
trend.
much do grenades cost, though? That's
Yeah,
what I'm
right?
saying. Drop it on him. Bam. I just like the idea. Like, I just figure it this way, Max. Like, if the government's just going to take total control, we might as well have robots dropping grenades on people because, like, for the plot kind of thing. That's the way I would see it. But I understand, and you're right. But, you know, one thing and we're going to get back to some of those topics here, because I was looking here. Okay, so I mentioned earlier. Okay, he says you post you post stuff about fluoride, you post stuff about freedom, and I said that sometimes I feel like I have what it takes to be to go into the conspiracies and the dive deeps,
Yeah.
But the thing is that like sometimes I like to sit at home and I just like to watch the news, what they tell me, and I listen to it and I say, that's good enough for Teddy. I'm going outside. I'm going to go see some birds. But what you're telling me is that it's going to be even harder for me to go see freaking birds right now. And the thing is that, how do I find how do I find the truth?
How do you find the truth?
How do I find the truth?
Well, that's a great question. I always take it back to, I used to work for, I used to work for this guy who, if you go back to 2011 Joe Rogan Experiences, you'll see him, Mike Rupert's on there. And I'm in the background. I broke their coffee table back when the Joe Rogan Experience was just filmed in this back room at the Ice House Comedy Club in Pasadena. But his saying was, until you change the way money works, you've changed nothing. And if you take it down to that level, right, follow the money, as people say. But the important thing, if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, I got a great conspiracy for you to start with.
I have to hold on to 1 second. 1 second. You broke the coffee. What were you doing on the coffee table?
Well, we had just finished smoking a big doobie with Joe and Red Band, and I was trying to negotiate the transfer of a couple of Fleshlight sex toys into our possession, because that back then the show was sponsored by that, and they did not acquiesce to my demands, so I smashed the coffee table out of pure unadulterated rage. No,
wow, I've never.
It was just a really cheap, shitty coffee. It was like one of those black fake wood with hollow silver metal legs coffee tables like you'd see in a dorm room. Just a really fucking cheap coffee table.
I was thinking that maybe that you was just getting done with the Fleshlight, so you took your wiener out and you just broke the table. Bam. No, maybe. Why? That's weird. That's a very crazy story. I actually like that. That's fun. That's fun. You're going around just freaking WWE styling on tables with your freaking wiener. This guy, he's a crazy man. I love it. Do you ride a moose where you live? Because it feels like there was a recent census that I pulled up a census report. You in Alpine, Wyoming, it looks like, in the moose population is actually exceeds the human population. That's wild.
It's true. Yeah, and you get some good loving off those moose out in the backcountry if you can catch them.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
But no, I don't ride moose. We down here, we like to take the snowmobiles out and then ski tour off the sleds. But one of the nice things about Alpine is it's still pretty free here. Like, there's a lot of free camping. There's there aren't really, when they did this whole thing in the Snake River Canyon this year, that's the first real like fee areas in the area. Out here in Alpine, it's been really nice. It's like what Jackson was probably like 30, 40 years ago, back when, you could camp all over your public lands just outside of town. Now, I used to during my ski bum days, I spent a lot of time living in Jackson, sometimes living in a vehicle, sometimes living in a house, sometimes living with some billionaire sugar mama cougar or whatever it took to survive.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. You got to stop right there. You're not gonna tell me sugar mama billionaire cougars and we're stopping there. We're talking about the billionaire
I had to
cougars.
sign an NDA, man.
Oh my God, you gotta be
There's
freaking
legal teams
kidding me.
involved here. I can't. That's all I can say. I
Man,
probably already said too much. But anyway,
wow, that is
the
absolutely
point of that story is nowadays you got these young kids who are trying to, be out in nature, get in touch with, the Tetons and all the beauty out here, go see the animals.
all the beauty.
And they're stuck working, basically working all the time in order to cover the cost of living. And, the thought of, people still do it. Like here, Dirtbag Rigs, my whole thing is I build campers that are affordable for people that are actually, living it, living that dirtbag life, like trying to cut costs and spend as much time out in the wilderness as possible and push their limits and
Yeah,
have true adventure. Um, and they made that so much harder up in Jackson. And I'm concerned that with this whole, rec.gov public-private partnership to profit off of our public lands, it doesn't bode well. It's kind of like turning the entire country into an overdeveloped ski town.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, I look at and it happens every single time the same exact way. They kick out all the locals get gone, and then they bring in all the J1 workers to do all the seasonal jobs, and then
Yeah.
all you have is a bunch of rich people, and then eventually the town is going to go. It turns into a ghost town eventually. What's going to happen? I'm just saying is when the money runs out, and there's no one. You don't have an actual economy.
Yeah.
Okay, these people that don't understand these things. They don't understand the economics that Teddy understands. You mentioned the fascistas. I've been saying this for years, Max. I've been telling them. I said, hey, I know what this looks like, everybody. I know what this looks like. And it's been like 30, 40 years that I've been seeing this happen. Okay, in America. Okay, I tell them, I say, we're a fascist country. Everyone sees this Trump guy come in. They say, hey, the freaking the Cheeto man, he's a fascist. And I said, we've been fascist forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where have you been? What you thought that this was? What you think this was? Oh, yeah. Anyway, people is silly. And what I noticed, I wanted to bring it up, is that have you looked at the definition of fascism in the dictionary lately? Because they actually changed it.
Yeah, they love changing definitions. They change the rules as they see fit and enforce them as they see fit. Prime example, Michelino facing federal prison time for
Thank you.
the horrible crime of cutting one switchback.
One.
Yeah. And it's not.
He didn't even.
Yeah.
He didn't even step on any plants. He didn't even step on any plants. It was all dirt. I heard a report that he didn't even step on a single bug the entire run. They said that it was the most eco-friendly FKT that has ever been seen and that's ever been documented. I heard that. I believe it because Michelino, he also loves animals. Have you seen his dogs? He also has dogs. He has huskies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen a husky when they talk? Have you seen a husky talk?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a good husky impression?
Oh, like that.
Yeah. I will see because you did your husky impression and it brought it out of me.
Yeah, that's how it is with my German Shepherd. I can start howling and get her going. It's beautiful.
That's really cool. That's why I love dogs. They're so fun. They're so clever. Hey, you know what I want to do really quick? We're gonna do the lightning round really quick. I want to show you something though.
Okay.
I was showing the last guest this too. See this light right here?
Yeah.
You see? Yeah. Somebody got this light for me. All right, ready? Okay, hold on. I haven't figured out how to use it. Oh, look at that.
Ooh, that's
see it?
nice. Ooh.
Yeah, it turns
value.
red. Oh yeah, we got big production values here. It's a lot of value.
So what do we got?
Okay. That's well, it's yellow for lightning round.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, it's doing it. It's blinking. It's doing it. That's good. That's what we want. Okay, now, so we're gonna get back into the other topics here. We are, but we're gonna go into lightning round. People love the lightning round. It's an absolute fan favorite. We don't, people also need to know fastest growing podcast in the world. Anywho, so the lightning round. So what's gonna happen is that in post production, I'm gonna put on some music.
Okay.
When that music starts playing, that's when the lightning round happens. You're not going to hear the music, but I'm going to cue you and just pretend that there's music. It's good music. You'll see it afterwards. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Lightning round. Ready. Okay. Skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing. Although I love snowboarding too, but skiing.
Hold on. Wait. You know what? Pause the lightning round. Pause the lightning round. Max, I need to go over the rules with you really quick. Apparently, the term lightning has escaped you. So it's fast. Lightning is fast. It goes like really quick. Okay, so I need just quick answers.
Okay, got it.
Okay. He's ready this time. All right, here we go. Ready, go. All right, skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing.
Good job. Middle or South Teton?
Middle.
Tits or ass?
Ass.
Nice. Bagel and egg or avocado and toast?
Bagel and egg.
Samwise or Frodo?
Samwise.
Wow. Okay. Lightning round is over. So those are all great answers. There's only one that you may have gotten wrong here, and that is the Samwise or Frodo.
Why is that?
Because I would like. Well, I'm going to tell you why, but I would like you to tell me why you think Samwise is better first, because I may disagree, may agree. We'll see. Go ahead. State your case.
Well, Samwise, loyal. In the Lord of the Rings, in the books, Frodo's not so much of a little bitch, but in the movies, it's like Frodo's always it's like they really hammed up his whole struggle against the ring and how it's like consuming his essence and soul, but through its dark energy. But most of the time, he just looks like a little bitch. Whereas Samwise is he's steady, he's ready, he's carrying the torch, he's doing what he's got to get done, and that's it.
You know what that reminds me of? That's actually a great way to put it. In this scenario, Michelino is kind of like the little Frodo, little bitch, and the Samwise is the people around him, like you, like me, like his lawyers that are holding him up and standing with him. And when he's sitting there and he's like, oh, it's so hard for me dealing with the government, and we're sitting there and we're like, it's okay. We got you, little Frodo boy.
Yeah.
And, and I think you're right, because the thing is at the end of the day, Michelino, he's cool. He's cool, but I think what he fails to realize is that this has gone from something that is much more than just running. Okay, this is gonna go to a point where this may set precedent for future cases to come, and I feel like people need to pay attention to that. That number one, an absolutely amazing accomplishment is going to somehow be overshadowed by a fight with the government. Now, the thing is that I think that it's more important that he's taking this fight and he's being selfless about it. And I don't even think he realizes how selfless he is being.
I agree. Well, that's why I had this, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, that is such bullshit. And then when he took on the fight and he didn't take the plea deal and he didn't knuckle under, and now he's going to court for it. That's when I knew that I needed to be one of his many Samwise Ganges. Because he's carrying the ring of power. He's the one that could get bent over by the bureaucracy on this one in a very tangible sense. But I think if enough Samwises show up, we're gonna get up to the top of Mount Doom in record time, throw that fucking ring back into the volcano, and the orcish hordes of bureaucracy are just gonna fade back into the mists of time, along with the Booz Allen Hamilton cashless payment kiosks.
Holy freaking crap. Like that was probably the most poetic thing that I may have ever heard. And I've read like a ton of Dr. Seuss.
Here's another one for you. This is the little poem. It goes,
Okay.
no victim, no crime, no federal time. Free Michelino.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
that was my gosh. You are like a Harry Maya Angelou.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. I wanted to ask you here, what are some big projects that you got going on here? A guy like you, like I imagine that like you probably got more irons in a fire than a freaking fraternity, man. What's going on with you in your life? What's the big project that we got?
Well, let's see. What am I doing? We're trying to pioneer a bunch of new backcountry ski routes out of Alpine here. That's probably the biggest thing. Just looking for new uncharted territory and skiing. I just wrapped up a
Nice.
van build on a 2020 ProMaster van, no, a Ford Transit van for a nice young lady, and got another
Ah,
van build
crap. You
starting
know
up.
what, Max? Hold on. I messed up here. This is like when you were saying the production value is real good. This is one of those moments where like
Oh,
I could really use help here
we're still in
because
the
I, you know,
we're still
my,
in the
my,
lightning round.
I thought I ended the lightning round. That's my look. Jake's on vacation today, so I have a fill-in producer here, and it's just as terrible as Jake, but it's fine. This is an absolute catastrophe. Look, that's gonna blink. I can't. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead. Something. God.
Oh, just working on camper vans, exploring new ski terrain. I'm rebuilding the 1982 Honda 500 dirt bike right now. That's an iron in the fire right now for sure. And
Yeah.
basically, I like doing woodworking. I do like wood overlays on garage doors and install garage doors now because after COVID, the whole van life thing kind of died down a bit. I think because of
Yeah.
a lot of the economy's not doing so hot, so there aren't as many ski bums looking to throw 20, 30, 40 grand into a van at the moment.
Yeah,
So
and rich kids these days is real soft. So like, like they always want the fanciest van, and like you always know when they're coming. You always know when someone's coming and they're in a van, and you know that their parents like just bought it for them, and they don't even know how to use half the shit that they have in it, but they're like, we're gonna go to the snow and we're gonna go skiing. It's like, oh my God, Karen, go the fuck back to San Francisco.
well, and then you got the guy who pulls up in like a 1998 GMC Safari or Chevy Astro van. It looks like he looks like he crawled out of a mud pit, and he comes out of his van. He's got a beautiful woman on each arm and a doobie in his mouth, and he's going off to, you know, challenge Michelino's FKT that day.
Yeah. Michelino. What's funny is as I was picturing him, and like the only thing was like be like him and his dogs instead of like the hot ladies, just his dogs rolling out. But I think the dogs is better because like they don't like when you take them on walks, they don't complain as much. Um, so a quick question that I have for you. So you seem like a guy that you make like tons of freaking enemies. How do you go about dealing with that? Because when you're posting things online in a somewhat controversial take on these things, I wonder like how do you deal with those things? Do you just tell those people like what do you tell the people?
Well, up until recently, there's how does the whole Gandhi saying go? First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win kind of thing, right? And for the
Yeah.
conspiracy theorists, we were ignored for a long time. And then we were laughed at for a long time. I think during the COVID pandemic, things kind of really came to a head then, and there was quite a bit of fighting in the sense of
Yeah.
people getting silenced and deplatformed and losing their livelihoods for stepping outside the official mainstream bullshit narratives. um And I'm not saying that we've won, but me personally, people don't mess with me too much. I kind of look at it like, well, I guess, you do get messed with in the sense, like, as far as my life has gone, I've built so many followings on social media and then had the accounts deleted, Like, at one point in time, I had the keys to pages on Facebook where I could post and reach about 3.4 million people. But all those pages got taken down years and years ago. So aside from like internet censorship and deplatforming and that sort of thing, so far, I haven't really experienced any real world animosity and consequences. And I, thank God for that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I was here, I was listening to you, but this sign is driving me absolutely crazy now. I was so happy that somebody got it for me, but now look at it. I can't even turn it the fuck off. Like, what's going on here? I don't know what's going on here. This is ruining everything. Oh my God.
It's going to be hard
Oh
to
my God.
edit that. So it does.
And what's going to happen is it's probably, I don't know.
Does it have a button you don't know about? I think you should take the time to figure that thing out because it's obviously very upsetting to you. Now it's blinking behind. Now it just looks ridiculous behind you there. There you go. Okay, you're good. Yeah, just look.
Okay, go ahead.
Wall.
Go ahead. Okay, yeah. Do I look good like this?
Yeah, you're totally mogged out, man. You're mogging the whole
Hell
internet
yeah.
right now.
Hell yeah. All right. It's kind of uncomfortable though. Shit. Okay, I'm gonna unplug it.
Okay.
That seems like okay. I'm gonna put it right here, and it's gonna look nice.
Yeah,
like
perfect.
Okay,
good.
Yeah, that looks perfect. It looks good. It looks good. I'm sitting here and I'm just, it's just because I don't understand how to use it. I told you Teddy's bad with technology. How do you think I'm gonna handle the parking fee freaking QR codes? You're like, I can't even turn off buttons, and you want me to use my phone to take a picture of your freaking squares? I don't think so, pal. I don't know. I just find that absolutely crazy, Max. And the thing is that, like, I'm really hoping people's gonna, wise up here. And I really hope that the peoples who was getting real mad at Nicolino at the beginning and that they was calling for his assassination. Look, although I understand that it may be a really serious offense, but I think we can pass on the death penalty here.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But has anybody actually stopped to question, like, okay, the fine is like $5,000. How long has the lawyer been working on this? Why are my tax dollars like? It feels like at least the cost of this trial has to be upwards of like 30, 40, 50,000, like on the like small side, right?
Yeah.
If you're just taking salaries into account here and you're going to charge him. But what's the point here? I don't understand it. I'm not like, Teddy's not great at making money, but like, I'm not like that bad at it.
Well, the government is great at wasting money, and they're great at, they're great at doing things that flex their power. And I think they're trying to make an example of Nicolino.
Yeah.
Because
speaking of flex, I was sitting here and I was like, dang, my legs look really good in the camera right there. So I'm going to hold it like that. Go ahead.
And yeah, it is, it was disappointing for me to see folks who that I've climbed with and spent time in the mountains with, who came out and, basically cheered the government on, going after Nicolino for the silly crime of cutting a switchback. And I think people need to realize that if you don't stand up to tyranny, if you don't stand up to I would call it totalitarianism, it just gets worse. And
I'm telling you, man, the wiener grabbing robots. The thing is people look at it more like that. Like, you don't want somebody grabbing your freaking wiener. You don't want the government coming in and overreaching. That's unacceptable here. And you're right. We should be banding as a team. We shouldn't be dividing ourselves and saying, oh, prosecute Nicolino because he's a trail runner. Look, here's the thing. We all know that mountain bikers is douchebags and they're going to do douchebag things. But we don't all have to be like that. We could unite, except for the mountain bikers. They're over here, but the rest of us over here.
Yeah. Well, and even the mountain bikers, why not get them on board? We got to put our petty differences aside. I get that as a trail runner.
They have to be less douchey. They have to look. I'm sorry, Max. I agree. Teddy is a man of the people like you. But the thing is the mountain bikers don't want to embrace Teddy. I try to tell, I'm going to give you a story. I was running one time. Mountain biker's coming down the hill. I see him. So I says, I don't want to get hit by a bike today because I'm just a little old trail runner. So I walk off to the side and I said, hey, go ahead, pal. I heard you coming. So I got out the way. And he said, good. You should get out of the way. And so I said, well, hey, fuck you then. And then he rode off or else I was going to hit him. But
that's maybe you're just jealous that you can't keep up with mountain bikers.
I don't think that's what it is because every time we're going up hills, I'm always beating them. It's just when they're going down hills because, like I said, you just saw my legs. Don't even give me that crap, Max. This is my show. You show a little bit of respect. A little bit of respect. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. You said this. Maybe this is what it is, Max. Maybe you haven't been on a lot of podcasts in a while because you're rude to the guests, to the hosts. And now you got me all flustered here.
I'll take that into consideration. You might be honest.
Okay, I might be, but I don't know. You seem okay. I look, you've gotten Teddy all wound up talking about these government conspiracies and things like that. And the thing is I've been seeing these things. The people isn't talking about these things, but you're talking about these things. Yeah. And the thing is what we're going to do, Max, we're going to try. Look, here's the thing. I told you before. I said this was the fastest growing podcast in the world. That was a slight fib. It is the fastest growing running podcast in the world. However, fastest growing. So with that being said, we have an absolutely massive reach. I think right now on Instagram, we have 280 something dedicated followers. Okay, dedicated. I'm telling these people will go to freaking war for you. Okay, all right. Yeah, they're called Teddy's Tots. All right, they're like my children. So I need you to share your Instagram handles, your businesses. I need people to go and find you, Max. How can they find you, Max?
Well, I'm on Instagram, just my name, Max Mogren, M-A-X-M-O-G-R-E-N.
Is that short? Is that short for Maximus?
No, sir, just Max.
Oh, well, it's still pretty cool. Go ahead.
And then Facebook, same thing, just Max Mogren. All my other accounts have been deleted. I used to have a Mog Farts on TikTok. That one got deleted at about 60,000 followers. So wow. Yeah, I just have my, I will say
60,000.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, we're not going to help you at all.
No,
yeah,
I need all the help.
You're fine.
That account is long gone. But I will say, I've been impressed with Instagram and Facebook lately that they're not doing near as much censorship and shadow banning as they used to.
Yeah, they was banning our companies. They was shadow banning us because our name has slut in it, and they's thinking that I was being derogatory as something. I'm just saying, no, we run sluts. We likes to run in it. Well, there's a whole backstory. It doesn't really matter, but we was getting the shadow bans.
Yeah, right. It's amazing how just one word can throw your whole company off. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's our fault. We chose it. But here's the thing, though. This is what I don't understand. What's going to happen, though, Max, is that this episode is going to air. And it's probably going to ruffle lots and lots of feathers. People's going to get real upset. They're going to get real upset. But the thing is I warned the people. I told the people, I said, Teddy doesn't put up with the bullshit. Teddy is here for the truth, the hard-hitting stuff. And it's funny. It's all jokes. We laugh here. We like to have a good time. But sometimes it's hard hitting. And I think that we actually covered like a great amount of topics today. It was fantastic. And the fact that we were able to get the definition of my legs on camera like that, I think that's going to do wonders for me if the sponsors can get past some of my more controversial opinions. Either which way, it doesn't matter to me. Teddy's still going to be here. Teddy's still going to report what Teddy wants to report. And Teddy's going to have on people like you, Max. And the thing is, people's going to say, Teddy, you've lost your mind. This is no longer a running podcast. I said, no, it's a running podcast. But sometimes we do things different here. Because sometimes it comes to what they say, times call for measures and they're desperate or something like that. It's escaping me right now. But you know what I'm talking about, Max. This sign is freaking driving me crazy.
Call for desperate measures.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Well, and it's a trail running podcast, and Michelino is a trail runner.
He is.
Very accomplished, very talented, very hardworking trail runner who's being persecuted for cutting a switchback.
Yeah,
And
and by all we don't even know who might be part of Mossad. We don't know. We have not established. I need the people to understand. We do not know. He may be.
I'll see what kind of dirt I can dig up. I'll see what I can find on that topic tomorrow.
Please do, yeah. And I think that it may come out in court. You know, I think that the prosecution may drop the hammer on them and may say, "Hey, guys, look, you know, you guys are looking at some innocent trail runner cut in a course, but what we see is this is actually some espionage type things. I've seen spy movies. I've seen some of the mountain scenes that they do. He was probably up there with sniper rifles and stuff. Ever wonder why he was training to get up there and get down so fast?" These are the questions that people are asking, Max. And I think that, look, the thing is you're perfect for it, because right now Michelino does look innocent by all accounts, and we will see tomorrow. However, just like with the JFKs, nobody found the murder weapon. You know, there was people missing in the Tetons around that same time.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate. I'm not speculating here, and I'm not throwing accusations out. I'm asking questions here, much like you, Max. Max, okay, I'm sorry. The thing is this pod has gone on for quite a while now. And the thing is with Teddy, I don't know, you don't know me very well. I drink lots of coffee, which means I have to poop a lot. So right now, I want to end this podcast. However, I can't get up to stop the recording without pooping my pants. So what's going to happen is I'm going to do my whole little outro thing. And then I'm going to do my like Teddy out thing. And then I'm going to ask you to hang up, because I'm going to have to edit all of this out in the end. It's going to be gross.
I'd say just run it, man. Don't even worry about editing. Just let her rip.
Oh, God. I don't think you realize what's happening. What's happening right here. It just feels so uncomfortable.
Okay, you got to go. All right.
Well, I really got to go. Okay. Anyway, sorry, everybody. This has been Teddy Tonelli with Chasing Trail, a.k.a. Teddy the Tyrant. And here's the thing, Max. We want to thank you again for coming on and sharing with the people. If you are in Teton Valley, May? Yeah, it's May 20th, 2025, you go to the courthouse and you find Michelino and you give him a high five and you say, "Michelino, when I see you next, I'm going to buy you a beer and I'm going to get you some cheese." Michelino loves cheese. Anyway, this is Teddy Tonelli with Chasing Trail. Thanks again, Max. Teddy out.
Chasing trail, kicking up dirt, sweating my eyes, but it don't hurt. Fast feet, loose rocks, send it full sail. Ain't no stopping, we chasing trail.